The courtroom felt suffocating as Daniel said, "This must be a mistake. I don't even know this child." A nurse's trembling voice whispered the baby's name, and silence tore through his chest like a blade. The gavel echoed like a final heartbeat, and Olivia, seated in the back, stared without blinking. Whispers from the crowd swelled, judgment dripping from every hushed word. Daniel's hands shook as he gripped the wooden bench, fighting disbelief with every breath. His pulse pounded louder than the baby's distant cry, pulling him closer to a truth he wanted to deny. Olivia's gaze cut through him like ice, a reminder of broken promises he tried to bury. Michael's shadow lingered near the door, his jaw tight with secrets unspoken. Emily leaned forward, her expression unreadable, holding the baby like fragile glass. Daniel said, "This cannot be my life. I never wanted this." His words hung in the air, weak against the crushing silence. And then came the gasp, the sound of everything he thought he knew, unraveling in one impossible moment. Daniel said, "There must be some trick, some lie." His voice cracked, drawing murmurs across the courtroom. Olivia kept her eyes low, her whisper echoing like thunder in his chest. Emily's hands trembled, clutching the baby tighter, her silence sharper than screams. Michael shifted in the shadows, his posture rigid, holding secrets that cut deeper than words. Daniel's heart thundered as the gavel struck again, pulling him further into disbelief. He tried to recall any memory that could justify this, but nothing surfaced, only hollow echoes of choices long past. Olivia said, "Her name is not a mistake," her words faint but undeniable. Daniel shook his head violently, rage colliding with grief, yet his body sagged under the weight of what he could not change. Emily rocked the baby, her gaze never lifting, while Michael's jaw twitched, the unspoken truth burning behind his eyes. In that moment, Daniel realized denial would not save him, not here, not now. Daniel's breath came shallow as the baby cried louder, the sound clawing at his nerves. Emily bounced gently, whispering, though her eyes revealed panic. Olivia pressed a hand against her chest, watching Daniel as if pity warred with judgment. Michael's fist clenched behind him, his nails digging into his palm. Daniel said, "I cannot carry this. I never asked for this." His words, though loud, felt fragile, breaking against the gavel's echo. Olivia muttered, "You must face what you've ignored," her tone both steady and heavy. Emily whispered something only the child could hear, her voice trembling as though begging forgiveness. The courtroom's silence weighed on everyone, pressing their truths closer to breaking point. Michael leaned into the doorway, his eyes shadowed, hiding storms within. Daniel shook his head, rage filling his veins, but it did nothing to erase the tiny cry haunting him. Daniel said, "You want to ruin me with this lie." His voice cracked, trembling with both fury and despair. Olivia looked at him, lips quivering but words steady. "No lie can create blood." Emily shifted the baby, her arms trembling from the weight of both child and truth. The gavel struck again, reminding them all of justice's cold presence. Michael's eyes narrowed, his breathing heavy but controlled. Daniel's chest heaved as he tried to stand, his knees buckling beneath the pressure. Olivia's gaze softened for only a moment, then hardened as she added, "This truth was always coming." Emily's tear slid down as the baby whimpered, the sound cutting deeper than steel. Daniel fell back against the bench, his head in his hands, whispering, "Not me. It cannot be me." The room, though silent, pulsed with heartbreak. The judge's silence pressed down like a heavy shroud, though his eyes revealed pity and finality. Daniel whispered, "This cannot end like this," his voice hoarse and raw. Olivia's hand trembled as she looked toward Emily, then back at Daniel, her resolve anchored in truth. Emily cradled the baby closer, tears streaming as she said nothing, her silence louder than any verdict. Michael turned his head away, but his jaw tightened until veins rose against his skin. Daniel felt every gaze burning him alive, each pair of eyes a mirror of judgment he couldn't escape. The baby cried once more, piercing through the walls of his denial. Daniel's heart cracked, not from acceptance, but from the dawning realization that life had cornered him. Olivia said softly, "You can't run from blood." Daniel covered his face, whispering into his hands, I never wanted to care, yet here I am. Daniel sat in his dim apartment, staring at the unopened envelope on the table, his chest heavy as silence swallowed him. He whispered, Why me? Why now? His words trembling as if even air betrayed him. Olivia's voice echoed in his memory, her whisper of the baby's name pressing into his mind like a brand. Emily's tear-streaked face haunted him, rocking the child as if shielding it from him. Daniel rubbed his temples, his mind circling wounds from childhood he never healed. He recalled nights alone, abandoned by a father who never came back, and realized the cruel mirror fate had given him. Michael's cold stare returned, a reminder of judgment waiting outside these walls. Daniel said, I am nothing but broken glass, his voice breaking as tears stung his eyes. The baby's cry still lived in his ears, refusing to fade. He sank lower, his heart clashing between escape and surrender. Daniel said, I cannot be him. I cannot be the father I hated, his voice shivering as he paced the room. He knocked over a chair, the sound splitting the silence like thunder. Olivia's face returned to him, eyes filled with pity yet steady as stone. Emily's silence weighed heavier than words, her arms curled protectively around the baby, like a fortress he could never breach. Michael's presence hovered in Daniel's thoughts, his disapproval sharp as a knife. Daniel stopped, staring at his own reflection in the window, whispering, You are already failing. His breath fogged against the cold glass, his own eyes staring back filled with regret. He pressed his forehead against the pane, shaking, as the past clawed its way back to the surface. The echo of abandonment drowned his pulse, leaving him hollow. Emily's words replayed, though she had said nothing to him directly, her silence the loudest rejection. Daniel muttered, She will never trust me, not with the child. He pictured her face in the courtroom, lips tight, eyes red. Olivia's whisper lingered like an accusation, her voice weaving through his sleepless thoughts. Michael stood in memory as a wall of judgment, daring him to falter. Daniel sat on the edge of his bed, cradling his head in his hands, whispers of his childhood memories cutting deep. His mother's cry, his father's absence, his own helplessness, all mirrored now in the baby he never asked for. He whispered, The blood I run from is the blood inside me. His voice cracked into the dark, a confession no one heard but him. The silence offered no comfort, only weight. Daniel said, I have no right to want her trust, his whisper trembling as he pictured Emily clutching the baby. He imagined her rocking slowly, her tears falling like fragile truths he could never touch. Olivia's words struck again, her name is not a mistake, looping endlessly like punishment. Michael's silence screamed louder than all of them, his jaw tight with secrets yet unspoken. Daniel grabbed the envelope on the table, fingers trembling as though it might burn him. He slammed it back down, whispering, Not yet, not now. His chest heaved as the baby's cry echoed in memory, piercing deeper every time he tried to block it. He dropped into the chair, face buried in hands, his body shaking under the collision of guilt and fear. Shadows grew longer, devouring the room whole. Daniel whispered, I cannot escape her, his voice hollow as he finally touched the envelope. He tore it open, each rip sounding louder than his heartbeat. Inside, the papers bore truth he wanted to erase. He stared at the baby's name written in black, his fingers trembling. Olivia's whisper echoed again, her voice an anchor he couldn't cut free from. Emily's face appeared in his mind, her arms wrapped around the child, her silence condemning him. Michael's cold eyes stood behind the words on the page, daring him to deny what was undeniable. Daniel said, She is mine, though his lips quivered with dread. His tears blurred the ink until the letters swam, the truth unrelenting. He dropped the paper, his body collapsing against the table, sobs breaking through the silence. Daniel slammed the papers against the table, shouting, They think I can carry this burden. His voice broke, echoing through the empty apartment. Olivia's words haunted him, steady and unrelenting. Her name is not a mistake. He pictured Emily clutching the baby, her silence condemning him louder than screams. Michael's eyes surfaced, sharp as blades, promising confrontation he wasn't ready for. Daniel paced, rage spiraling into fear, fists clenching as he muttered, "Everyone waits for me to fail." His breath came ragged, chest tight, as the past collided with the present. He remembered nights abandoned, voices of judgment that once crushed him, now returning in every whisper outside. Daniel fell against the wall, muttering, "The world already sees me as unfit." He stared at the papers again, as if they mocked him with undeniable truth. Daniel walked into his mother's old house, the walls heavy with memories of rejection. He whispered, "You left me, and now I am cursed to repeat it." Olivia appeared in his memory again, her soft voice cutting like a blade. Emily's face floated before him, her arms around the child like a shield against him. Michael's disapproval pressed like a weight, unspoken but crushing. Daniel slumped into a chair, whispering, "They want me to fight. But how do I fight what I never had?" His chest rose sharply, tears blurring his vision as the baby's distant cry returned in his mind. He pounded the table with his fist, muttering, "I was never enough. Not then, not now." Shadows deepened across the room, his despair painted on peeling wallpaper. His silence screamed with the echoes of abandonment. Daniel stormed into Michael's office unannounced, voice sharp as he said, "You've judged me long enough." Michael rose slowly, his face cold, jaw clenched with unspoken fury. He replied, "You think you can hide from truth? The world already whispers about you." Daniel's hands trembled as he slammed the papers onto the desk. Emily's silence flashed in his mind, her arms around the baby, her eyes refusing him. Olivia's whisper resurfaced, quiet yet louder than Michael's roar. Michael stepped closer, his breath harsh as he said, "You will destroy her if you stay." Daniel shook his head violently, shouting, "I will not abandon her like I was abandoned." His voice cracked, tears threatening as he leaned into the weight of his words. Silence followed, heavier than judgment. Emily sat in her small living room, rocking the baby slowly, her lips quivering though no words escaped. Daniel entered hesitantly, whispering, "Emily, I never wanted this life, but she's here." Emily's eyes filled with tears, her arms tightening protectively. She whispered, "She does not need your doubts." Daniel stepped closer, his hands shaking, whispering, "I only know how to fail." Olivia's voice returned in his memory, whispering truth he couldn't silence. Michael's warning pressed against his chest, his words cutting through. Daniel fell to his knees, whispering, "I don't know how to be what she needs." Emily's tears spilled freely, her silence both rejection and heartbreak. The baby stirred softly, her presence louder than their voices. Daniel reached out but stopped short, his hand trembling in the air. Daniel left Emily's house in silence, the door closing like a sentence behind him. He whispered to himself, "They all see me as a danger, not a father." His chest heaved, breath fogging in the night air. Olivia's whisper echoed, steady and condemning. Michael's cold warning burned deeper, his words replaying like a curse. Emily's tears haunted him, her arms wrapped around the baby in silent defiance. Daniel walked into the empty street, his footsteps heavy, muttering, "Every choice takes more from me." He collapsed onto the curb, burying his face in his hands, whispering, "If I stay, I destroy her. If I leave, I destroy myself." His sobs shook in the quiet night, his body trembling as shadows consumed him. Above, the moon hung pale, indifferent to his collapse. Daniel stormed into Emily's home again, his voice shaking as he said, "Tell me everything. I deserve the truth." Emily's eyes filled with dread, her arms tightening around the baby. She whispered, "Not all truth saves." Daniel's body stiffened, rage and fear colliding as he stepped closer. Olivia appeared at the doorway, her face pale, her voice trembling as she said, "Daniel, there are things you were never told." Michael followed behind, jaw set, his presence heavy like a hammer waiting to strike. Daniel said, "Enough lies, enough silence." Emily sobbed, rocking the baby as though shielding her from the storm inside the room. Olivia's lips quivered as she whispered, "The child is not who you believe she is." Daniel's chest caved inward, the air torn from his lungs. His mind spun, his body frozen in disbelief as shadows deepened around them. Daniel's voice cracked as he shouted, "Then whose child is she?" Emily sobbed harder, shaking her head in silence. Olivia's hands trembled as she whispered, "She carries blood, but not yours alone." Michael stepped forward, his voice cold, "You were never meant to know." Daniel's knees weakened, his body trembling as if the floor beneath him gave way. Emily cried, "I tried to protect her. I tried to protect you." Daniel said, "Protect me from what?" His voice was raw, desperate, almost childlike. Olivia covered her mouth, tears falling, as she said, "Michael has hidden what you should have known long ago." Michael's jaw flexed, his silence confirmation heavier than words. Daniel fell back, whispering, "It was never mine." The room's air thickened, suffocating every breath. Daniel's voice trembled as he whispered, "Michael, what did you do?" Michael stepped closer, his shadow falling long across the floor. He said, "The truth was mine to keep, not yours to bear." Emily shouted, "No more lies, no more hiding." Olivia's tears blurred her vision, her voice cracking, "This truth will destroy us all." Daniel's heart pounded, his words shattering as he said, "Tell me, is she my blood?" Michael's silence lingered before he muttered, "She is mine." Daniel staggered, collapsing into the chair, his hands clutching his chest. Emily turned away, rocking the baby with violent trembling. Olivia gasped, the weight of betrayal splintering the room. Daniel whispered, "You were supposed to be my brother." His words were broken, disbelief cutting through his veins like fire. Daniel shouted, "You betrayed me, my own blood against me." Michael's jaw clenched as he replied, "I saved her from you." Emily cried out, "No, you saved yourself." Olivia stepped forward, voice trembling, "You've torn this family apart with secrets." Daniel's tears burned as he whispered, "I built my life on lies I never knew existed." Michael turned away, his voice low but sharp, "I never wanted her life tied to your ruin." Daniel's voice cracked, "And now mine is ruined by your silence." Emily sobbed, rocking the baby faster, her lips pressing against her head as if to block out the chaos. Olivia's hands shook as she said, "The truth always finds its way, even if it destroys us." Daniel buried his face in his palms, broken. Daniel's voice was hoarse as he whispered, "She was never mine, yet I loved her already." Emily's sobs grew heavier, her arms trembling as the baby stirred. Olivia stepped forward, whispering, "Love does not ask for blood." Michael's voice remained cold, "Love will not save you." Daniel lifted his head, his eyes red with fury and grief, whispering, "You've taken everything from me." Michael glared, his silence louder than judgment. Emily cried, "The child deserves truth, not the weight of your war." Daniel rose slowly, his body shaking, whispering, "I will not vanish like he did to me." Olivia's tears flowed as she said, "You must decide now who you are, father or shadow." Daniel stood in silence, the room drowning in the sound of the baby's soft cry. Daniel stood in the middle of the living room, his body trembling as he shouted, "You took everything from me, Michael." Michael's glare sharpened, his voice cold as stone, "You were never meant to carry this truth." Emily sobbed louder, rocking the baby as tears streaked her face. She said, "Stop this before you tear her apart with your rage." Olivia rushed forward, her hands shaking as she cried, "This isn't about you, it's about her life." Daniel's voice cracked, "I will not let her live my nightmare." Michael stepped closer, his jaw clenched, fists trembling as he hissed, "You are the nightmare, Daniel." Emily's body shook as she whispered to the baby, her voice breaking with desperation. Daniel's chest heaved as his knees nearly buckled, whispering, "I will not run." Daniel shouted, "You call me unworthy, but you poisoned her life with lies." Michael's jaw tightened, his voice like ice, "Better my lies than your failures." Emily's tears poured as she cried, "Neither of you see her, only your pride." Olivia's sob broke through as she said, "This ends tonight." Daniel's voice trembled with both fury and grief, "She deserves more than the ruin you've made." Michael stepped closer, his fingers stabbing the air as he roared, "She is mine!" Daniel's body shook as he whispered, "Blood makes you nothing. Sacrifice makes you everything." The baby's cry split the room, silencing them all. Emily's arms tightened, her sobs growing as she whispered, "Please stop, she is only a child." Daniel dropped to his knees, tears flooding his face as he whispered, "I was left broken. I will not leave her broken too." Michael's chest heaved, his face pale with suppressed fury, whispering, "You cannot save her when you cannot save yourself." Emily's sobs filled the silence, her arms swaying as she rocked the baby with trembling resolve. Olivia knelt beside Daniel, her voice trembling. "This is your moment, choose who you will be." Daniel lifted his head, his eyes red and swollen, whispering, "I choose her, even if she's not mine." Michael staggered back, his face twisting with disbelief, his fists unclenching for the first time. Emily gasped, her tears mixing with relief and fear. The baby's small cry broke into quiet coos, the sound cutting through the chaos. Michael growled, "You think words make you strong, but you will crumble the moment the world judges you." Daniel rose slowly, his body trembling yet his gaze firm. "The world has judged me since birth, but I am still standing." Emily's sob turned to a gasp, her arms hugging the baby tighter. Olivia's tears sparkled under the lamplight as she whispered, "This is your truth, Daniel, not his." Michael's fists shook, his voice breaking as he shouted, "You were never supposed to know, never supposed to take this from me." Daniel's tears still streamed as he whispered, "I am not taking her, I am choosing her." Emily covered her mouth, her sobs breaking through, her eyes wide with disbelief and hope. The room shook with silence, broken only by Daniel whispering, "I will fight for her, even if it destroys me." Emily's tears spilled as she whispered back, "Then fight not with rage, but with love." Olivia's hands shook as she whispered, "This is what makes you her father." Michael turned away, his face dark with defeat yet still burning with anger. Daniel's chest rose, his tears refusing to stop as he stepped closer to Emily. He reached out carefully, his hand trembling as he said, "May I hold her?" Emily hesitated, her eyes wide with conflict, then slowly placed the baby in his arms. Daniel's sob broke into a gasp as he whispered, "I will not let her go." The baby stirred softly against his chest, silence wrapping the room. Daniel sat on the couch with the baby in his arms, his body shaking as he whispered, "I never thought I could hold something so fragile." Emily watched quietly, her eyes red with tears, but her posture softening. She said, "You were never ready, but neither was I." Olivia stood near the window, her gaze heavy, whispering, "The past cannot be undone, but it can be rewritten." Michael lingered in the shadows, his silence like a stone pressed against their chests. Daniel kissed the baby's forehead, whispering, "I will not abandon you." Emily's lips trembled, her tears falling as she said, "Then you must fight every day to prove that promise." Daniel nodded, his chest rising slowly with renewed resolve. Olivia's shoulders dropped, as though she had been holding her breath for hours. Daniel whispered, "I am broken, but I will try." Emily closed her eyes, whispering back, "That is all she needs. Someone who will try." Olivia turned, her voice trembling, "You carry scars, Daniel, but scars can be strength." Michael crossed his arms, his jaw tight as he muttered, "Trying is not enough when the world is watching." Daniel's eyes filled with fire as he said, "Let them watch, I will not vanish like he did." Emily's shoulders shook as she leaned forward, tears sliding freely down her face. The baby stirred gently, her soft whimper silencing the tension for a moment. Daniel pressed his forehead to hers, whispering, "You will not be alone, not as I was." Olivia's tears fell, though her lips lifted faintly in fragile hope. Emily said, "I feared you would turn away like everyone else did." Daniel whispered, "Turning away is all I've ever known. But not now." Olivia stepped closer, her voice breaking as she said, "Blood does not define you, choice does." Michael's fists tightened, his voice sharp, "Choice means nothing if you destroy her in the process." Daniel's eyes glistened as he whispered, "I will carry her weight, even if it breaks me." Emily pressed a hand to her lips, her body shaking with grief and hope mingled. Olivia's hand touched Daniel's shoulders softly, her tears still falling. Michael turned away, muttering, "You are a fool for thinking love will save you." Daniel whispered, "Love already saved me tonight." The baby sighed softly in his arms, her presence anchoring him. Daniel said, "I will fight every whisper, every judgment, because she is worth it." Emily's tears streamed as she whispered, "Then she will know love, even if the world denies her." Olivia's voice steadied, her tone carrying relief. "This is what it means to be father, Daniel." Michael growled, "You cannot erase my blood from her life." Daniel looked at him, his eyes fierce, whispering, "Your blood does not define her future." Emily clutched the baby closer, her body trembling, but her lips finally whispering, "She deserves peace." Daniel's voice broke as he whispered, "Then I will build it for her." Olivia's tears shimmered, her expression soft yet proud. Michael's glare remained, his silence weighed with defeat. The baby stirred softly, her tiny breath warming Daniel's chest. The house grew silent, broken only by the baby's soft breaths. Daniel whispered, "She is my choice, no matter the cost." Emily closed her eyes, her tears falling as her lips curved into a fragile smile. Olivia exhaled heavily, her voice trembling. Then tonight changed everything. Michael stood rigid, his eyes dark, but his silence heavy with surrender. Daniel kissed the baby's forehead, whispering, "You will never know the emptiness I knew." Emily whispered, "Maybe she has hope after all." Olivia's lips trembled, her tears finally slowing as though peace settled in. Daniel held the child tighter, whispering, "She is the reason I stand." The room pulsed with fragile quiet, the storm outside replaced by the hush of resolution. The night had grown still, silence pressing heavy against the house as Daniel sat with the baby in his arms. His voice broke into the quiet, whispering, "Everything I feared is now what I must face." Emily leaned forward, her tears streaking her cheeks as she said, "You are not alone, not anymore." Olivia's voice trembled as she whispered, "The world may never forgive, but she will know you tried." Michael's silence burned from the corner, his face shadowed, but his eyes still sharp. Daniel kissed the baby's forehead, whispering, "I never thought I'd choose this, but tonight I did." Emily wept softly, her head bowed, whispering, "Maybe love can grow even in ruins." Olivia exhaled slowly, her chest rising with relief and grief mingled. Daniel's eyes closed as he whispered, "She is my reason to breathe." Daniel's hands trembled as he whispered, "I never wanted to care, but I cannot stop now." Emily wiped her tears with shaky fingers, whispering, "That is what makes you her father." Olivia's lips quivered as she said, "You've carried pain your whole life, but tonight you gave it meaning." Michael scoffed, his voice sharp, "Meaning will not protect her from the world." Daniel looked at him with tear-filled eyes, whispering, "Maybe not, but my arms will." Emily clutched her hands together as if in prayer, her body trembling as she whispered, "Don't let her go." Daniel pressed his forehead against the baby's head, whispering, "I will not." The baby stirred gently, her soft breath warming his chest. The silence was sacred, fragile, and unbearably real. Daniel rose from the couch slowly, the baby secure in his arms, whispering, "The world will not take her from me." Emily gasped, her tears mixing with a fragile smile as she whispered, "You finally see her." Olivia stepped forward, her tears falling freely as she whispered, "You see yourself too." Michael's jaw tightened as he growled, "You'll drown carrying her." Daniel's eyes burned with defiance as he whispered, "Better to drown with her in my arms than to abandon her on the shore." Emily covered her face, sobbing loudly, her body shaking with release. Olivia whispered, "That is your truth, Daniel, and no one can take it from you." The baby cooed softly, her voice breaking the tension with unexpected innocence. Daniel whispered, "She is mine in every way that matters." Daniel's chest heaved as he whispered, "I will walk through fire if it means she never feels alone." Emily whispered through her tears, "You've already walked through fire tonight." Olivia's hands shook as she whispered, "The scars you carry are now her shield." Michael turned away, his face hard as he muttered, "This isn't over, not by far." Daniel kissed the baby's head softly, his tears falling onto her hair as he whispered, "It's over for me. I have chosen." Emily wept louder, her body sagging as though a great weight lifted. Olivia placed her hand on Daniel's arm, whispering, "Then you are no longer broken, you are her father." The baby breathed softly, her presence binding them all in fragile quiet. The storm had passed, leaving scars but also light. The house fell into silence, each breath heavy with finality. Daniel whispered, "I never wanted to be a father until she forced me to see myself." Emily's tears turned into a broken smile, whispering, "She gave you back to us." Olivia's voice cracked as she said, "She gave us all back something we lost." Michael stood at the doorway, his eyes shadowed, his silence lingering like a wound unhealed. Daniel pressed the baby closer, whispering the words that sealed everything. "They tried to take her from me, but she will always know who I am." Emily wept harder, Olivia bowed her head, and Michael turned away in bitter defeat. The baby stirred softly, her small hand curling against Daniel's chest. The story ended not in comfort, but in haunting truth.